Good day, Onion Lake. My name is Mitchell Lewis with 7 Gen. I want to say welcome back to another work week. Monday, we're starting things off right. Got a very special guest with us today. Empower to Recover founder, Mr. Jay Barnard, will be joining us on the podcast. I'm also here with, as you all know, 7 Gen, Brian Misto.
How's it going out there, everybody? Always a good day. Always a good day when we're out here and able to connect with our friends. No matter where we are, we can connect via Zoom, right, Jay?
100%.
So it's good. So Jay, tell us a little bit about the Empower to Recover. Let's do a little bit of an introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Myself. So in 9 days, I will be celebrating 18 years in recovery. 9 days.
Right on. Wow.
That's a long run, that one. That one's a long run.
18 years.
Never mind a grand slam, but that's a long run. 18 years into recovery. And, I basically came to the conclusion that I have an allergic reaction to anything that I use, and I break out into handcuffs. So for me, I don't want to break out into handcuffs anymore. And so I understood my allergic reaction. And, it took me to places like, I found that jail was a really cool place to be. You know what I mean? I was able to still do all my business in jail, and I'd be able to leave with money. Like people would come and put money in my canteen as long as I continued the services that I was doing as an entrepreneur. The lifestyle caught up to me, the lies, the manipulation, the destruction caught up to me. I didn't know what safety was. I always knew what threat was. So I wasn't able to. You can't heal if you're in threat mode 24/7. You know what I mean? You can't. If you can get yourself to safety mode, you can actually really start trying to work on this thing and heal. 2005, I was 25 years old. I tried to take my life back-to-back times. Even the system back then, after them finding me, in a pile of black puke, barely breathing, outside a house, then get charcoal brought back to life, at that point, I was like, I even failed at killing myself, there's not much left here, you know what I'm saying? But even, 3 days into the hospital, and they were just like, okay, you can go. What do you mean I can go?
I didn't know whether to laugh or to do what there when you said you're that much of a failure at everything that you tried. But I mean, like all the other stuff, like all the poor decision making, you seem to not fail at that part, right? But I mean, coming back from all of that, it probably gave you a bunch of ideas and tools of how to build resilience and to come out of all of that kind of life. Like where did you start to want to learn that part and change your life around? Like what was your big turning point?
I don't even, if I look back on 18 years ago, you know what I mean? I don't even know if I wanted to change. I just knew that I didn't want to be in a jail cell anymore. So the option was treatment. And that was, February 11th, 2008. And the last time I used was February 10th. So I basically thought I was going to treatment for 4 months. I would continue business on in treatment. And, if you would have told me 18 years ago, I'd be able to love Jay today, I'd have a loving relationship with a creator, higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, a loving daughter, not a chance. You know what I mean? Not a chance. And all of the amazing things that I've been able to do, like through the help of other people, like recovery gave me everything from branding myself as Chef Recovery. And to this day, I still do, personal chefing things for people. And maybe that's something we can do in your community. I'm sure you guys are cooking something up in the kitchen there for me, maybe. But, to becoming a celebrity chef and doing things for Mark Messier and William Shatner and Snoop Dogg and just, really being able to live out this dream that I wanted to live out. And to then, getting an opportunity to do a TEDx talk. And that's where, Empower to Recover brewed from. Is I
TEDx.
yeah
TEDx is such a huge platform. I look at that all the time.
Yeah.
Eh?
TED
yeah
Talks, man. There's a
yeah
lot of good things that go on there.
yeah, and that's what gave me the idea. I was just like, and that was in 2015.
Not very
Uh,
long ago.
2015. I was whatever that is. What is that? 11 years ago. So I
Oh
was I
wow.
was 7 years into recovery, I guess, at the time.
Yeah.
But I looked around and just went, man, if I could ever just gather up lived experience individuals from all pathways, all walks, all forms, all peoples, all everything, and just, you know, bring them into the room and just share all these amazing stories of people that have resilience and have gotten through things. And it's not just about substance use disorder. It goes deeper than that. It's about trauma and just all the different things. And what if we could even bring the resources and the tools and the products and the services and the organizations and bring those into the room, because everybody has, it's very difficult getting help. It's very difficult asking for help. It's a very big challenge. And what if we could bring our indigenous communities together and I'll bring it all together.
That just brings me right back to something that was brewing up in my mind while you were talking. Tell us a little bit about your plan. Like you got something going on nationally here with an app, like for support and stuff like. Tell us about that because you kind of mentioned already little bits and parts of it, but like, how did that start coming to light?
The so so we're just like in the really really early stages of this, but really it started from
Yeah.
me traveling across Canada, motivationally speaking, and seeing all the gaps in the system and wanting to just build a bridge, wanting
Yeah.
to assist the system. You can't beat the system. That's not you can't. You have to
Yeah.
assist it, and you got to build bridges. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed that is lacking is a directory that is directed for trauma, mental health, addiction, and recovery. The only directory in the world is Google. Let's be honest, and it's very overwhelming. So, um, being able to recognize that, being able to do Empower to Recover all across Canada, becoming a national non-for-profit, allowed me and our team to see different provinces and different towns and different cities and different indigenous communities and different things that people are all struggling with, and how could we create something that is so universal that everybody can use and get connected, and how can they get help, and how can they get specific help, and how can they so that's where it kind of came from, and so I started doing a pilot project on it, and through the pilot project, we brought 50 people through, directly helped 50 people through this so far, and we're able to use the products and services, the organizations, the businesses, to access help for these individuals. Not everybody went to treatment. Not everybody went to this. We had a variety of ways to get help, because there's more than one way to recover. There's more than a 12-step program. There's more than a psychiatrist. There's more than a counselor. There's just more things. And out of those 50 people, we have a 79% recovery rate.
That's awesome.
Why do we have that? Because we have variety. And why do we have that? Is because we get to the level where the individual is at. So where are they at? What are they looking for? And what do they need in order for them to move forward in their recovery? Your recovery is different than my recovery. Everybody's recovery is different. So we can't look at everybody the same and throw them in the box and say, listen, you're going to go here. Right. So, I
That
mean,
that.
you guys know statistics. I don't need
Oh
to
yeah.
throw out statistics, but 80 to 90% of people go through treatment more than once.
Oh yeah, I've been there a couple times myself. Like I'm not gonna lie, you know what I mean. And then like when you're going back to that, like everybody has their own way of recovery. It's almost like I don't know how you're built is the way you're built. Like sitting next to me is Mitch right here, and like the way he's built is different than the way I'm built. Like I went through different things. I need to process my issues in a different way than the next person beside me, and to you out there, and then to everybody over there. But I mean, that does not mean that somebody else out there might be able to learn off of like myself or off Mitch or
Right.
off Jay, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
So
that's why the events, and speaking of which, we're going into our 25th live event, February 13th in Toronto.
yeah,
25 events in 2.5 years. After Toronto, We will have 249 different individuals have spoke on the platform, from
Wow.
youth to indigenous people, leaders, elders, anything in between, musicians. Mr. Entertainment's making the stage, right?
Right
And
there.
at the end of the day, to say that and to kind of process that as the executive director really shows me that, you know, this is needed in today's world, not just, um, so, we have, what's also exciting is we started to do events in the indigenous communities in 2024. We did our first one there. Going into 2025, we ended up doing 5 more um, indigenous communities across Canada, into Saskatchewan as well, George Gordon First Nation. Um, and what was really special about those is that we were actually able to give back 30 to 40% of the sponsorship money from the community back to the community. So we're able to pay all the speakers. We're able to pay, and I'm talking speakers that had never spoke before.
Yeah.
People that had never opened up about their story, they got paid to tell their story. We had an elder there for the day to open us up with prayer. We had a drumming group there for the day, a local caterer, and then we brought in a couple speakers and paid them their travel and accommodations. So just last year, with the 5 indigenous communities we did, we were able to give back to those communities almost $40,000.
That's awesome.
Those are the ways that we did it. I'm proud to say that. I'm really proud to say that.
That's really awesome. That shows that you want to bring something someplace, but then you don't want to take you don't want to take everything away from them, right? You want to leave there with that good standing within that community and stuff like that. And then, like, going back to now, we're talking about this event. The event is called the Empower to Recover Border Battle for Recovery, right?
Yeah, it's Lloydminster's Battle for Recovery.
Battle for
Happening,
Recovery. Yeah.
yeah, happening March 27 at the Border Inn and Suites. That one will be our 26th live event.
And then there's how many speakers in total that are already signed up?
Right now, we're sitting at 12 or 13 different speakers. All the information's on our website, so www.empowertorecover.com. That's where you're going to be able to get the tickets. There is a couple community booths left, so we do have a bunch of resources. So this is the other thing, is when you come to these events, there's resources and tools there to show you that there's people out there that are willing to help you that you might not know that are there to help you. The other amazing thing is Miro neurons. I don't know if you know what that is, but the Miro neurons, they start firing when you get in the room, because most of us are stuck in threat, right? So if we're stuck in threat, we can't get the safety. If we get into a safety situation, our Miro neurons start firing. And we say to ourselves, maybe it's possible for me to do this too. So you start filling the room with the maybe this is possible to recover. And then they leave the event, because we leave the resources and tools and we point them in the right direction, and they're able to connect. And it's not like we're just going to the community and saying, goodbye, we're leaving, we're not coming back again. We're coming to the community and we're actually pouring through all the speakers, but we're also bringing resources and tools. We're also showing the things that we've learned, and we're also leaving a takeaway so that you can get the help that you need.
Those resources and tools are actually a huge takeaway for people to take from there and apply it to themselves, right? Like if for myself, me going into even just like the little rooms in local Lloydminster, like I got so many resources or so many tools out of there, and met enough people to where I had my own little resource bank going on and stuff like that. So, like going to those little rooms like that, and then going to something like this, which is kind of on a bigger stage, would be able to reach out to more people like that, and then going live streamed. Are we going to do it live streamed, Jay?
We're working towards the live stream, so
That's going to be awesome.
That is going to be part of the next shift here with us. So you're going to see a little bit of an update to the logo, because we have, when we first started this in 2023, co-founders Brooke Robichaux and Carl Heath, are co-founders of this. We were really focusing on substance use disorder. We started in BC, and the question was, what if we could stop addiction before it starts? And traveling across Canada, I already knew this, but it was more evident doing these events that everybody's in. There's three common bonds. We all have a level of trauma. We're all recovering from something, and we all have a story. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, every single person, humanity on this earth is in some shape, size, form of recovery. So we've had people from, like I said, substance use disorder, amputees, cancer survivors, PTSD, anxiety, depression, sex trafficking, you name it. All these labels that are out there, right? Sharing their story, which is their recovery. So the logo's doing a little bit of a shift. It's still the same logo, but we're also launching a new website, so you're going to be able to access more things. You talked about the app and the directory. We're working towards that. That's a project inside of Empower to Recover, which is called the GRC, the Global Recovery Community. So we've identified as an organization that we need to get recovery into people's pockets. We need to get recovery into people's hands. We need to get recovery on the go. That's just the truth. And how do we do that? Well, we have to build a project inside of Empower to Recover, and we need to raise the funds in order to make the project happen. And once we're able to do that, we can actually connect the world and connect the directory and connect the events. And you'll be able to go to the app and you'll be able to see the live events streaming. You'll be able to see live yoga, meditation, maybe even, because I love me and you, and we talked a while ago about, I did my first beating session, like phenomenal stuff, like very calming, very I was for 3 hours. I was just like in this space where I was just like, didn't think about anything else but beating. And it was like the most calming thing. And the thing about the Indigenous communities and the culture, it's calming, from the drumming to the smudging to the sweat lodges to the beating to the singing to the dancers to the jingle. It's all just rooted healing, exactly. And that's what's powerful, is that we'll be able to show that if the communities choose to show that in a way that can really start healing people. I mean, when you hear the drum, it just heals you. It's just how it goes. So it's exciting. Times are really exciting right now. Somehow, 2023 we did 3 events. 2024. 2023, 2024, 2024 we did 8 events. 2025 we did 16 events. 2026 we're slated for 26 events.
Wow.
The progression of events and people wanting us to do events and people coming forward, and we're not funded by the government in any shape, size, or form. You know what I mean? This is all grassroots initiative. This is all fundraising. This is all through ticket sales, through booths, through community partnership packages, through donations. And, it's exciting to say that we have been able to raise just over $300,000 to help put on all these events, and actually pay people too. And this third year is really exciting. When you're going into that third leg in that third year, people really start to get to know who you are.
You get another wind, right? You get another wind.
Yeah.
So when, it's like seeing where you're at right now, moving forward, like where do you think, or what do you imagine the foundation is going to be looking like in about like maybe 10 or 15 years from now? And to you, what does that success kind of look like?
Well, we're already talking about going international. So we hope to go international this year. We do have an international lead. His name's Carl Heath. So we are looking at going international, doing international events. I really want to do more work with our Indigenous communities. It's really important to me. I
think that's really important. I think that's really important, going up to the Indigenous communities, because I know there's a lot of Indigenous communities that are in need of supports. Go ahead.
Actually, on the Indigenous communities part, I think the one thing that the youth, Empower to Recover, it's such a powerful thing. It's taken off. It's really finding its roots. And have you ever thought about maybe putting this on like a youth conference kind of level? Yeah, like to speak to the kids, like we mentioned before, wanting to target them before this happens, preventing it.
Yeah.
And I think I think this would be something really cool to talk to with these young kids. You know, like
So it's
hearing.
interesting you bring that up, Mitch. So
Yeah.
my daughter, this might choke me up a little bit, but my daughter looked at me and said, "Daddy, can you please help the youth?" And I have to help the youth. And
We
so
have to.
this year we're actually doing two youth events so far. We're doing a youth event in Regina um, on May 30th. We're doing another youth event in Calgary, Alberta on June 5th. I would also love to come to the Indigenous communities and do a youth event with you guys, where it's based around the youth, where the youth and when we've had youth speak, like we have a youth that went to 6 events last year with us, Eli. She was when she first started speaking in June of last year in Fort McMurray, Alberta. She was at 6 months into recovery. All the way up until she spoke last was she spoke in Lac Sewell First Nation. We did an event called the Circle of Hope for Christmas in Lac Sewell First Nation, and she was over a year into recovery when she spoke at that sixth event. And she's got a powerful story. And the stuff that is interesting about the youth is that youth are looking for a movement and a platform to be a part of. Youth are wanting to have recovery in their hand, in their pocket. Youth are wanting to connect in that sort of way because that's the way the life is going, right? Youth are not wanting to gather in the bottom of a basement church, and not nothing against that, but that's not where youth are today.
I think for a lot of people, that's kind of where it started. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? The basement church, right?
yeah.
And like big shout out to the late great Bill W, who just there was an anniversary on his passing just a couple days ago. Like with all of that, with all the youth, I think it would be a really good idea to have like something for the youth, because I think that would be the time where they feel like they want to belong and be a part of something. And if we could put something, a positive aspect in front of them for them to feel that belonging to that place or that entity or that thing, then they won't be trying to look outside the box and trying to be who they are not and end up making potentially the wrong decision, right?
Yeah,
Well, I
like
think it's validating too, right? It's like their voices need to be heard, and when their voices get heard, they're validated. A lot of people choose not to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
So when we give them a stage, that's why the stage that we give, either big event, small event, medium event, it doesn't matter. Their stories are validated in whatever they want to share, right? So whatever you want to share, you get up on stage and you tell your truth. And I think for the youth, I think that's really important right now. I mean, just from a bullying aspect of things, like the amount of bullying that's going on out there, the cyber bullying going on out there. A lot of our youth are struggling. So back to your question, that's 100% yes. We've already started the movement. I started the movement last year. I started cooking actually with youth at the Dryden Native Friendship Center, about an hour and a half from Kenora. We actually did a teens kids versus chef challenge, and somehow they took me down and won the challenge. So
Piece of cake.
but you know what? You know what was so exciting is these kids and these teens came in and they're like, "We're gonna take the chef down." They're so excited. I saw them work together and they had teams and they were just like, "We're taking chef down. We're taking chef down." And I'm like,
That's
"I'm all by
creating unity right
myself."
there. That's creating unity. I think you wanted to add something onto the youth portion there, Mitch.
yeah. Like the good thing about today's day and age is before, if you wanted to get something out there, if you wanted to get a message across, it was very hard to do so because you only had a physical audience.
Right.
But today's day and age now with digital media, live streaming, broadcasting,
Yep.
these kids, like, they don't have to be in front of a crowd to get across the message. Like, all you got to do, if you guys know what Twitch is, all these kids, they're streaming their games already, and their persona is in front of a digital audience that they don't even ever see.
They never see him.
But it's that having that camera on them and they know that what they're doing is being seen. Like, that's the advantage of digital media nowadays,
Yep.
especially if you want to get these kids to start talking about these important things. You want to get messages across. They have access to that anywhere you go. Just like when we did this day with us, Courage was one of the first ones that came up.
Yep.
And he said, you know what, I want to do that. I want to talk about myself. I want to talk about my story. I want to do it in front of a camera.
Maybe that'd be an idea. Somebody to link up with Eli, who is a youth advocate, right?
Yeah.
Eli, maybe get Courage that information, if we could get that information from you, Jay, or something like that. Because we do have some youth here that are vocal, right? We do have some that are vocal and want to be out there for other people to understand who they are, probably, or understand where they're coming from and stuff like that. I think would be a good thing.
Yeah, and for sure, bring them to the event on March 27th.
I think so. Yeah.
I think
we'll probably.
I mean, it's an amazing idea. I mean, we have youth come all the time. In Saskatoon, 2 years in a row, there was 20 or 30 youth that were at the event. They all got up on stage. We all clapped them for being there. One of them told their story and got off the stage and said, pulled me aside and just said, Jay, this is absolutely amazing, and
Yeah.
at that moment I just broke down. But I'm just like, I was like, wow, we're actually giving something for everybody. It's not just this one way, you know what I mean? And that's what's so special about it, is that it is for everybody. And I've always wanted to build something that was for everybody, where you just felt, the love, the kindness, the compassion. You got the tools and the resources, you got community connection and confidence, and you had creativity, and you had, your mirror neurons are firing off the event, and you're able to, your life changes after an event, and it's like, wow, that's impressive, and that's just the kudos to the people that have told their stories. You know what I mean? I'm just a guy trying to survive out here like the rest of us, and
Just a guy that's kind of, being right beside them and, giving them, providing a platform and a safe space for other people to come in, and just kind of, share their part of their life.
absolutely. So are we going to talk about me coming to the community, or are we going to drop that yet, or is that a no drop?
Let's talk about that right now. Let's get into that. Maybe we'll get Mitch here to get into that, and then
Mr. Entertainment.
Yeah. No, so everyone out there, there's the event coming up in March here in Lloydminster. It's going to be a real good one. There's going to be a lot of guest speakers there. Jay will be there. Brian will be there talking about his story. I always enjoy listening to that story, bro. It's really good.
Yeah. Which part of it?
The best part. I like how you,
I
like
got
how you
about-
have a start, a middle, and an end.
Oh, yeah.
Really
Those
good.
are good ones.
Really
Yeah.
good. And then, we want to bring you out here, Jay. I think to have you come do a podcast with us here in a studio, I think
Live.
that would be pretty cool. I know you'll enjoy the studio here. It's nice. And then we want to set something up kind of like where you can come talk to the kids at the school. And then in the evening, we want to have, I don't know if we have a formal word. It's basically a live podcast or a live meet and greet, I guess.
Just a live audience where you'll be able to kind of talk to the audience a little bit, take a little bit of Q&A, and then, we'll go from there. We'll have supper and everything like that. It'll be a meet and greet kind of after taking the stage for our general community. But it starts off with the podcast in the morning, going into the schools a little bit later on with a message for youth.
Yep.
And then, going out into our general public for the audience.
And speaking of supper, I think we should have another teens versus Jay again. See if our community kids here can whip up something good.
Come on, I can't lose 2 times in a row.
I think our
Bring
soup
it.
and bannock
Bring it.
makers will do
Bring
it.
it.
Yeah.
All right. So for the people out there that are listening, that are going to be listening, that are going to be seeing this in the near future, for you guys out there, let us know if you guys are up to that challenge for going up against Jay Barnard, celebrity chef. What is it? Recovery chef in recovery.
F recovery, yeah.
Chef recovery. He's going to be coming to Onion Lake.
I'm just curious. You said you cooked for Mark Messier and William Shatner and all those.
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg.
What did you make for Snoop Dogg?
Yeah,
Hot
what'd you
dogs?
make for them?
So
Macaroni
I'll tell you
and
a quick
seasoning.
story about Snoop Dogg. Anyway, so he's like, "Hey, chef, can you make chicken and waffles?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem, Snoop. Chicken and waffles, that's easy."
Yeah.
Anyway, so I make them. Got to go to the venue to bring him the chicken and waffles. And as I'm coming into like before the dressing, it's just like all this smoke. It was like the first time I was kind of like around anything like that in my recovery, right? And I'm like, "Hey." Now all of a sudden we got smoked chicken and waffles.
Smoked chicken and waffles.
And anyway, so yeah, I bring him in, and then all of a sudden I just see Snoop's head whoop, come out of the smoke. Anyways, yeah, chicken and waffles, and yeah, I got to do some real cool things. Mark Messier, Wayne Gretzky was a great one, Leonardo DiCaprio was another one, and yeah, I just got to really do some amazing things because I just haven't given up. There's been times where I've wanted to give up, and I think that's natural for humanity. We want to give up because we think it's the easier way, but giving up is actually harder than actually just doing the next right thing. And I was able to have my own fish processing plant. It may have had to close in 2021 because of the COVID, but we were 1 in 5 top businesses in all of Ontario with our Indigenous fishers. At one point, I had 147 different Indigenous fishers fishing for us across northwestern Ontario and into Manitoba. We won a $25,000 check, and it was presented by the premier at the time in Toronto for a leader in innovation. And
nice.
It's exciting. February 6th, by the grace of God, people nominated Empower to Recover Foundation for 4 awards at the Kenora District Chambers, the KDCC, which is also interesting because basically 10 years to the date was the first award we won with Freshwater Cuisine, which was Innovative Product of the Year. So it's kind of interesting going through that transition of working so hard, the TV show, going across Canada, making the products national, and then getting international with the products into the USA with a crazy thing we called walleye wings, which was the ventricle part of the walleye wings, and being able to do that, and kind of sit here now 10 years later and be able to go back to that same place that we were recognized for the hard work we were doing with the Indigenous communities and the fishers and the fish, and really helping our Indigenous communities get their fish to the market. And it's always been my dream that the Indigenous people have the fish industry. It's their industry. They should have it. It should be owned, operated, and produced by them. And we showed that you can do that. And we really, I can say, $2.5 million we gave back to the communities buying fish. And
awesome.
I've done a lot of great work with the communities, and I love the communities.
Like when you were talking a little bit earlier about when you went on to the TEDx stage, how was that for you? Like, what did that kind of put like a bigger, broad stage into perspective, stepping into that spotlight and then sharing your story there, or sharing what you had to share at that time?
Yeah, like it actually first happened right back there. That was the front of the Ottawa Citizen. That was the first time that I would ever kind of got public about. I mean, I was public, but I wasn't public. And then Ron Eade, God bless his soul, the food editor, all of a sudden this buzz around the campus in Algonquin College of like this guy, he's Chef Recovery, which by the way, my pastry chef said, "Jay, you should call yourself Chef Recovery, not the recovering chef." And I'm like, wow, that's marketing, Chef Recovery. Anyways, then yeah, when I got on the front of that Ottawa Citizen, it just kind of blew up from there. I started getting booked to speak, and then I started traveling, and then all of a sudden, yeah, the opportunity kind of to go to this like national, international stage with the TEDx talk, and they give you a TEDx coach and stuff like that. And I kind of just look at them, and when I'm authentic, I don't want to coach. I'm going to speak what I want to speak about, and I want to speak about my life. But we had set it up so awesome that there's a table and there was a microphone, and I was behind the table, and at the beginning of my talk, I was cutting fruit. So every time you'd hear the knife go, and I was building a plate of this beautiful, sexy food. I even carved TEDx in a watermelon. And and then I came. I'll send it to you guys. You guys can share it. It's a beautiful one. And then I came from behind the table to the front of the stage in front of everybody. And it was like I was hiding behind that table, and that's what I used to do. I used to hide.
The intro was kind of like your knife was kind of just making chopping noises in the back.
Yeah, and you could hear the fruit, like I was going through the fruit, and I was still talking, right? But
Yeah.
the mic was just set up so perfect that it heard every cut and every slice. And I built this really sexy fruit plate platter, and then it just like I kind of finished it,
Yeah.
and then I walked from behind the table and got to the front of the stage, the center of the stage, and at that point, that was the transition that Jay is Jay, and this is recovery, and I'm not hiding anymore. And I you know what I used to do in my back then is I used to hide. I didn't want anybody to see me. You know what I mean? Like that's what the substance use disorder did that to me. I didn't want to see. So even to a point where I got on my hands and knees and I came up with this prayer at 4 months. I got on my hands and knees in front of 300 people and said this prayer. And it goes a little bit like this, but God, give me the strength, courage, hope, and faith. Keep believing in me, trusting me, having faith in me. Keep loving and caring about me unconditionally. Give me patience, tolerance, understanding, forgiveness, compassion, and acceptance of other people's struggles along with my own. Let me love myself, like myself, care about myself enough to move forward in a positive direction. Let me be comfortable with who I am and what I'm doing. Let me live in the day of the moment to live on life's terms. My Lord, I turn my will and my life over to the care of you today and guide me in my recovery. Never give up. Keep living the dream.
That's
I said that at 4 months when I left treatment and went back to treatment. And they accepted me back into treatment. I hadn't used or anything like that, but I was just done with it. And I got on my hands and knees, and that's what came out of my mouth. And when I woke up that morning, it was the first time I saw a smile on my face. I knew what surrender was. Right? I surrendered. And I said that at that TEDx talk.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, it was like a pin. Like I got up, stood up, and I was like, oh, I understand motivational speaking now.
You got their attention.
I understand what to do now. Right? Yeah, and it was one of those things. And at the end, they're just like, we're so glad that we just let you be you. And yeah, that really set the tone for other things that I was able to do. I got to just speak more and more, and I just never gave up. And what's cool is that the story keeps going. The story keeps going, and now we have an amazing organization, Empower to Recover Foundation. That's everybody's. It's not mine. It's everybody's. This is for everybody, and I want everybody to have ownership of it. I want everybody to feel like they have ownership of it. I want everybody to be a part of it. I want, and that's how it should be. You know what I mean? It should be that way.
I think that's true. I think that's real, and I think it's authentic. Like I like your prayer. Your prayer just spoke loud, and it spoke realness, and it spoke truth, and it spoke vulnerability all at the same time. And then like going forward from from that to where you are now, like there's like everybody's got principles on what they're doing, where their direction is, and everything like that. If you could teach one principle to maybe only one person, but like to everyone as a whole, like who wants to help, what would that principle be that you could share with other people?
Give yourself a chance. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You can't rush yourself. Like rushing myself in substance use disorder to come into recovery and try to rush recovery. You can't rush healing. Healing happens when healing happens, and you're going to get it when you're going to get the healing. Like every time you're going to get something, right?
Yeah.
But as long as you stay the course, right? Just stay the course. And if you stay the course, things are going to get better and better and better and better and better. Are you going to get the thing is once you get into recovery, now you got to deal with life. Life is always going to be life, right? I mean, so now you're lifing. Right? So if you can learn how to life inside of a life that's kind of insane out there today, but yet you can give yourself a chance and really learn to love yourself. Learn to be your best friend. You know what I mean? Learn to be your best friend. The person you spend the most time with is yourself. And I bet you if we asked 100 people who are you? 99 of them would put their hand up and go, I don't know.
Because
Because
none of us
society has
really know
told
until we
us.
really deal with ourselves, right?
Well, and the thing is, the society has taught us that if we do love ourselves, that's selfish. But what's really interesting about the word selfish, the first four letters is self.
Right.
How am I being selfish if I'm taking care of self, right? You know what I'm saying?
That's something that I battled with personally. Like for myself, like a lot of people say, you're being selfish. Like you said, like society tells us that you being selfish is not really a good thing. But then when you're in recovery, you got to be selfish because you're taking care of you, as opposed to taking care of anybody else. And you got to do this for. Some people may say it's a gray area from when you start to when you're feel like you could fly on your own to where your recovery is strong enough, where you can take care of yourself. You know what I mean? So that gray area is when you have to be the most selfish, is in my opinion.
I th-
100%.
Yeah.
I
100%.
think that it's it comes down to compassion. A lot of people don't have compassion unless they see you going through something, and then they start to like feel different about it, and then everything that you're going through, like, okay, yeah, do that. But before, they don't have that compassion to even think that maybe you're going through this, you're going through that. It's not until you're actually like actively going through something you'll kind of see the light bulb go off, and then all of a sudden that compassion comes into play. And I think it's important, that everyone has to have kindness and compassion in their hearts to other people, no matter what they're going through, no matter who they are, everything.
Yeah, and I think through the journey, whatever you're growing, sometimes you outgrow people, but as long as you still give them love, kindness, and compassion, and help them when you can, you know what I mean? Like there was 90 people that went through the treatment center when I was there. That was back in 2008. 90 people, 90 guys. I stayed an extra month and a half, 5.5 months, and then from there I went to second stage at Liberty House, and that's where I learned aftercare. I'm the only human from those 90 guys that has long-term recovery. 19 of those guys have committed suicide or overdosed. The other
Wow.
guys are still trying to figure themselves out, meaning going in and out of treatment. So, what was different for me? What was different for me? I didn't rush it. When I started rushing it, I backed up and said, I'm staying a month and a half longer because they said the word graduation. So they said to me, you're going to be graduating, Jay. And I'm like, how do you graduate from a bag of crack to a bag of crack? What am I graduating from here? I don't know what I'm like from a Texas Mickey to what? 10 of them? Is that what I'm graduating to? You know what I mean? So for me, I didn't like that word. So I started using the word, they gave me a dictionary and I found the word transitioning. I'm transitioning into society. I'm transitioning to better myself. I'm transitioning to learn how to pay bills. I'm transitioning to learn how to have a relationship with myself. I'm transition like that's how I looked at it. And then when I went into second stage, which was for a year and 10 months at the Liberty House with Robert Ware, who taught me different tools from a 12-step program, it allowed me to have that continuum of aftercare. I had that continuum of aftercare. I had that continuum of learning. I had that continuum of growing. I had that continuum of I can take care of myself. From there, I moved into a bachelor apartment. Because if you just take a Texas tornado, throw them in the treatment center, 30 days later, take the Texas tornado back out of the treatment center, throw it back into its house, what is it going to do? Be a
It's going
Texas
to continue.
tornado. If you take me and throw me into a big house, what's going to happen? Too much space. I can't, like, it's too big. I don't know what to do. So for me, I did this long term thing. It was like over 2.5, almost 3 years, this long term thing, and like even in that bachelor apartment, it was my bedroom was my living room. My living room was my bedroom. I had a small kitchen. I had a small bathroom. But you know what? I could manage myself in that. I could sit with myself in that. I could be with myself in that. I could learn how to like myself in that. I didn't have, and I'm not telling you I didn't have tough days. I've had tough days, you know what I mean? And I've done, for another conversation, but I have tried to take my life in recovery 2 times, one time at 10 years and one time at 16 years. So these things that happen through to us, it's like that continuum helped me though. You know what I mean? The continuum of that helped. And the realization of that and how I looked at things, and in 2020, so it would be February 27th, 2024, I had a hip replacement. And that's like truly when my life changed. I was 16 years into recovery, and I finally wrote a rebirth and a surrender letter, and I just gave everything up. Anything that was in my mind that was slowing me down, anything from the past that would catch me, because a lot of the times, 90% of the time we're making up all these stories in our heads, and 90% of the time none of the stuff happens. All we're doing is staying in second gear. I was staying in second gear, but I was just revving it too hard. I was too hard on myself. I was revving this. I was too hard on my mind. I was, very judgmental of myself. I was like very critical. Like it was insane. I remember celebrating 10 years in Ottawa at the Ottawa Convention Center. We sold out the Ottawa Convention Center for my 10 years celebration. And with the Salvation Army. And I remember getting off the stage going, nobody got anything. You know what I mean? And it was like, what do you mean nobody got anything? And then I went to my room and I started beating myself up. And you guys know, once you start beating yourself up, you're going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no, the only reason the rabbit hole feels good is because it's familiar. Right? So because it's familiar, it's like, I'll keep going down the rabbit hole. It's not fun. So then you get yourself into like a whack of problems. And, I think it's probably important to share about this a bit. But, I came back, hugged my daughter, and I said, I don't even feel any love for my daughter. And I love my daughter. You guys see me on Facebook. My daughter's like my number one. Yeah. I love my daughter. And I went to where my friend took his life. My best friend took his life. And in 2007. And I was ready to go. And out of nowhere, bam, the water broke out of the dam. And it shook me. And I was like, what am I doing? And I went and saw my counselor, who I hadn't seen in 10 years, that got me into the Salvation Army. And she looked at me and she just said, Jay, have you ever said you're proud of yourself? Do you know for 10 years I never said I was proud of myself? 10 years. 10 years. She's like, Jay, arguably you catered the world's greatest hockey player. And you never stopped and said you're proud of yourself? That was at 10 years. And I learned something really big from that. You know what that is? We all have to be proud of ourselves. We all have to love ourselves.
We got to give ourselves that self-love.
Yeah.
Because, like, if we don't have that self-love, nobody else is going to give it to us. You know what I mean? Like, nobody else is going to, unless you have somebody, a significant other, or somebody that's going to come and say, I'm proud of you. But then there's a lot of times where you're sitting at home, nobody's around, and it's just you, self-time, right? And, that person's not going to be there. And that's usually the time when you get in here, you get into your head, and then you start thinking about the rabbit hole. And then that's where you need to tell yourself that time. That would probably be the key point of where to catch that. You know what I mean? And it's huge. Like, these are little parts of the recovery journey that don't get noticed. Like, this is the little part that makes a huge difference. This is one of those little things that would help somebody significantly if there was somebody there for them. Because, like, we can only be strong until a certain point, right? And then after that certain point, it's like, who's there for us, And then, like, you made some really good points there. Like, with now going into, like, I know that we gotta shut down here in a couple minutes here. We got about 10 minutes left or something like that. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're really busy at everything that you're doing with the Empower to Recover, with the foundation being the main guy in all of the everything that you do. Like, is there something that you would want like students, the youth, to understand or to prepare for when you come out? Because I do believe that the day that I think that we're trying to shoot for is the 25th of November for you to come to Onion Lake, right? Or March. 25th of March. Yeah. My bad. I'm sorry.
You want me earlier? I got you. No problem.
No, we have there's a youth conference that's happening on the 25th and the 26th, I do believe, here in and our cream.
And I think that's when the internet went. Yes, sir. Hey, we're doing well. We went 48 minutes, bro.